In this skeletal practical review, we're going to look at the upper extremities. Now this is a clavicle, the collarbone. And we're looking at the superior view of it. Normally it'd be laying down on its side. Now this, the more rounded end, is what is going to connect up to the sternum. So this is the sternal end of the clavicle. This flatter end is the acromion end. So that'll hook up with the acromion process. This little bump right here is going to be the conoid tubercle. Looking at the scapula, this is an anterior view, so you'd be looking through the ribs at this. This is the part that is right up against the rib cage. Here's that C-shaped or cobra-shaped looking structure. So this is the coracoid process. So again, the coracoid process. Think of cobra, cobra, or CC. So that would be coracoid process. This is the acromion. This is the superior angle, the inferior angle, the medial or vertebral border, the axillary or lateral border. This would be the neck. And this whole area here would be the subscapular fossa. Right here, again, we see the glenoid cavity and the coracoid process. And again, the acromion, superior angle, inferior angle, medial or vertebral border, lateral or axillary border, subscapular fossa. This is a posterior view, and you can tell because you can see the spine of the scapula. And that spine turns into the acromion. And above the spine, and again, the way you're going to think of this, above is superior. Superior to what? Superior to the spine, and it's an indentation or fossa. So this is the supraspinous fossa. If we have a supraspinous fossa, then what do we have down here? An infraspinous fossa. And it's going to, again, have the superior angle, inferior angle, lateral or axillary border, medial or vertebral border. And on this view, you can see just a little bit better the glenoid cavity. You can see the coracoid process peeking around, the acromion, the spine, the supraspinous fossa, and infraspinous fossa. This is the humerus, and we'll take a closer look at the proximal end of the humerus over here. Here we have the head of the humerus, the anatomical neck, the greater tubercle, the lesser tubercle, and in between, just like in between states, a road that goes in between states, we call it the interstate. This is in between two tubercles, so we call it the intertubercular sulcus. And since the one of the tendons of the bicep goes through here, we can also call it the bicipital groove. Okay, and just as we have the anatomical neck, just below here is going to be the surgical neck. And more about right there. So the surgical neck. The distal end we have, again, these are technically condyles. So above it, right here, is going to be the lateral epicondyle. And here is the medial epicondyle. If you're not sure, again, the head of the humerus has to point medially to attach to the scapula. And so this would be the medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle. Also, you can look at this. This is the capitulum. And so the capitulum is where the radius is going to ride in an anatomical position. Okay, the radius, first of all, is on your thumb side. Anatomical position, your thumb is going to point laterally. Although it is a lot easier just to look at this. This points medially. This is the medial epicondyle. Okay, so the capitulum, and then right here is the trochlea. Now, since this is anterior, you're going to see these anteriorly. You're going to see this best anteriorly. We have a couple of fosses here. And right here, this would be a radial fossa, because again, the head of the radius will go into here. This fossa is where the coronoid process is going to go into. So that's going to be the coronoid process. If we turn this around and looked at the back, there would be another fossa that the olecranon would go into, and that would be the olecranine fossa. Now this right here is the radius. We have the head of the radius, the radial tuberosity, and then down here distally we have the radial styloid. This is an ulna. Down here we have the head of the ulna and the ulnar styloid. Up top, here we have the olecranon process, and right here, the coronoid process. And if we look at these close up, we can see, again, the olecranon process and the coronoid process. And then we have the trochlear notch. So the trochlear notch, of course, is going to go over the trochlea. And then here is the radial notch, and that's where the head of the radius will articulate and rotate on. Looking at the hand, now this is going to be a left hand. This is the palm. How do I know it's the palm? Because we can see the pisiform and the hook of the hamate. You're not going to see those on the dorsal or back of the palm. And so we'll get into the carpals in just a moment. These again are the metacarpals, and you have the head, the shaft, and the base of each of the metacarpals. And remember, the other name for the thumb is pollex. And we have a proximal, middle, and distal phalange, except in the thumb where we have a proximal and a distal phalange. And we start counting from the thumb side. So all of this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, looking over a close-up of the carpals. Remember, we had a mnemonic, and there's lots of mnemonics out there. The mnemonic I made up was, some ladies try peppers that they can't handle. If you don't remember that, watch my video on learning the carpals of the hand. And so this is the scaphoid, the lunate, the triquetrum, and the pisiform. Then we come back here to the thumb side. That's the thumb. This is going to be the trapezium, and you remember that because the thumb swings on a trapezium. Okay, and then the trapezoid. And see how it's trapped in between two bones? 3 bones, really. 4 bones. So it's trapped in there. So trapezoid. This one has a rounded area like I had. Remember, the head is caput. So this is the capitate. This is the hamate with the hook of the hamate. And since this is the thumb side, this would be the radius. And this would be the radial styloid. Right here is the head of the ulna, and this is the ulnar styloid.